Stay tuned to the end of this video to hear a word for our patrons. Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. Are you ready for another anniversary to completely upend the metagame for 12 months? If not, too bad, gun money. Yes, it's time for the much-anticipated Koyanskaya of Light, the 5-star assassin. Now, normally, on this show I say we do history, lore, mechanics, and more, but longtime viewers may recall the times when dealing with Fate's original characters, this gets a bit weird. So if this is somehow your first Wanted and you didn't catch the earlier two Lost Belt-related ones, yeah, slightly different format. And Koyanskaya here is one of the more original OCs we've worked with. Her origin in her profile literally says Fate Grand Order. So prepare for an expedited episode. There'll be some things we just simply cannot do at this stage. Also, this one's pretty heavily tied into the metaplot of Cosmos and the Lost Belt, the Part 2 story. So if you are not caught up on that, expect some level of spoilers. Anyway, let's get into it. So, we're skipping history and jumping straight to lore. Now, Koyanskaya's of Light's profile is very meta and coy. It straight up says she appeared during the 6th anniversary, but assures us she is no longer a beast candidate. She's just a perfectly normal servant. It's okay, y'all. Now, specifically this assassin Koyanskaya we've seen, including her basic ascension, was shown all the way back in the intro to Cosmos and the Lost Belt, where she had the iconic assassin trailer, leading to loads and loads of speculation, hints, and more. Also, when Koyanskaya appeared in the prologue to Part 2, almost everybody picked up on her possible connections to Tamamo. She has a little foxy zipper, okay? It's not hard. And then, basically, Koyanskaya's appeared in every single core Lost Belt chapter since the prologue with a different outfit. She's been a returning antagonist, although sometimes she's been helpful due to her love of contracts and bargains. This is basically continued in her playable state. The lore for her independent action EX states she has zero need for a master, but she abides by the command seal because she never breaks a deal and never spins the wheel. She's also apparently very spy-themed. Her profile keeps saying spy in all capital letters in the original Japanese. Maybe some kind of super spy. Chaldea's angels, if you will. Anyway, it's at first suspected and then fully revealed in Lost Belt 5. Koyanskaya is a beast candidate specifically for Beast 4, the same slot Foe is in. Hence why they don't get along. And she is working with the alien god in order to fully power up her spirit origin to 9 tails so she can do beastly things. Koyan of Light's profile indicates there's been some hiccups in this plan. Presumably this will be covered in the Tunguska Sanctuary event later this year, which is focused on her. So, yeah, keep that one in mind. Now, that said, as I mentioned earlier, Koyan of Light says she's no longer a beast and has instead become a divine spirit associated with human weaponry. This still seems to be a plan for her to dunk on humanity, but it does alter her status. She is not something humanity oppresses, but something humanity uses to oppress, is kind of the way it's phrased in one. You'll also notice that despite having the beast attribute, which is very rare in terms of FGO, but note she doesn't have, like, threat to humanity trait or anything like that. So, you know, weird spaces. Now, fun fact. Koyanskaya is not technically a Tamamo. That is, she is not a Tamamo no Mai. She is not, strictly speaking, Lady Daji, nor is she actually one of the Tamamo 9. Now, this was suspected for a while, and we'll talk about her aliases later, but if you don't know, the Tamamo 9 are actually 8 alter egos, because regular Tamamo is the 9th one. They were created by Tamamo in her ending of Fate CCC, where in order to achieve her goals, Tamamo gets in touch with her origin and regrows all 9 tails. However, since that would complicate her lovey-dovey time with Hakuno, she severs the extra tails and seals them up in the Sea of Imaginary Numbers, the imaginary number space. That said, since she was super powered up when she did that, each tail got a little bit of its own divine mystery and manifested as individual heroic spirits who have their own personalities as kind of facets of Tamamo, and also are usually mad at the original for reasons. Now, while it may be arguable if Koyan of Light is an alter ego of herself, since due to future knowledge we know that there are 2 Summonable Koyanskayas so far, without even getting into Summers, but she is not an alter ego of Tamamo. Instead, she is a being who is manifested, which is modeled on Tamamo's Saint Graph because they have similar natures. This may be related to how Tamamo herself is supposed to be related to Daji and other myths of dangerous foxes, despite that not really working in a literal sense for a lot of reasons. This seems more to be of the very Nasuverse thing where older things are templates for later things, and that is, like, literally true, even though also everything that is new is its own unique creation. Anyway, the name Koyanskaya uses originally is Tamovich Koyanskaya, borrowing a name from one of the Tamamo 9. In FGO Saber Wars, where we got some backstory detail on this, Tamamo original flavor refers to Vich as the talented, beautiful secretary, a phrase which is also repeated for Koyanskaya a few times. So it seems like she borrowed the name of the Tamamo 9, which best fit her own personality type, but technically there should be a separate Tamovich. The other Tamamo 9 we know, by the way, are Tamamo Cat, the wild one, Tamamo Delmo, Supremacy of the Home, Tamamo Aria, the strange one, and Tamamo no Hime, the non-committal princess, with 2 more Tamamos unnamed, just so they can have more ideas later. Now, as a nod to Tamamo's country of origin, Koyan of Light sometimes styles herself as Ikusao Tsuwata no Omikami, the great goddess of weaponry. As far as I can tell, this seems to be something she's made up, not the name for an outstanding goddess in particular. That would make sense, because she seems to be going for kind of a gun goddess thing. But, funnily enough, Inari Okami is also considered the patron deity of blacksmiths and the protectors of warriors, but is also symbolized and sometimes depicted as a white fox. So, that's very funny. It is also stated in Koyan's profile that she manifested in our world sometime during part 1.5 to start the NFF and go through that business. And apparently, capitalism is one of her divine authorities, because she was a successful businesswoman in her lead up to taking out Chaldea at the start of part 2. Note that despite any appearances to the contrary, her profile explicitly states Koyanskaya is a bunny, not a fox. Anyway, if you want more Koyan Facts TM, look out for that Tunguska event later. That's going to be all about this, so just keep it in mind. And also, when Lost Belt 7 drops, she does get a costume. This specific one gets a costume. Alrighty, so moving swiftly on. Mechanics. This Koyanskaya is an assassin. She's got pretty good HP and attack for her class, in the upper side of both. She's QQABB, slightly above average hit counts and high NP gain to compensate for the singular arts card there. Her NP is a AoE buster. It gives her 20% attack up for 1 turn first, and lowers all enemies' NP charge by 1. And also it charges the whole team's NP gauge based on overcharge. This will be starting at 10%, but goes up from there. Simple, but effective. Now, her first skill is arguably the big one. This is a targetable 30 to 50% battery and reduces the targeted ally's skill cooldowns by 2, but does 1k damage to the whole team. Note this can't actually kill you, but still. This cooldown reduction is pretty key to some strategies. We'll discuss some of the finer details later. Y'all know I'm not good at math, but we'll get into it a little bit. The second skill is also a targetable buff, and this one is also kind of instrumental to certain buster loop strategies that you're going to be doing. It helps those goes along. So your target gets 30-50% damage up for both the human trait, that means actual alive humans, and the human or man attribute for 3 turns. Generates 10 to 20 stars, and then also that targeted ally gets an on-attack buff so that when they use a buster card, they generate 5 to 10% NP gauge per turn. Or per hit, I should say, for 3 turns. So, this is all important. I'll discuss why later, but those 2 skills are the most key. Our final skill is our last targetable buff. Seems to be a theme here. It's 30-50% buster up for 3 turns, 30-50% crit damage on buster cards, and increases the star absorb on buster cards specifically for 3 turns. Not as essential as the others, but still really strong. Big damage mods there. So her passives are Riding B, so those 2 quick cards are really good. Independent Action EX for big passive crit damage, especially when combined with her Independent Manifestation C, which is even more passive crit damage and some other resistances. She has a passive version of Morph, also sometimes called Shapeshift, for arts and star generation up. She doesn't have Presence Concealment, funnily enough, but does increase her star gen that way, and also her arts card's a little good, and has a passive version of the skill Goddess Metamorphosis, you've also seen on some other characters, which gives her just increased NP damage all the time. So yeah, Koyanskaya of Light is a little bit of an oddly placed one structurally. She has an offensive AoE NP, but all her skills are designed for support in some way. They are buffs that you say, that guy, do better. Now, when you combine her with other buster-focused units, she gives your team the ability to very rapidly regenerate NP and skills while still outputting huge damage potential with targetable traits and buster crit buffs. I'm not going to get too tangled in the specifics because FGO gets more complex every year. Everybody who's watching this is going to have different units, different skill levels, different command code setups, different levels of grailing because you'll have rolled extra copies for coins, etc. It's all different. But suffice it to say, as an example, your simplest combination is just double Koyan. This gives you access to 100% battery and also -4 skill cooldowns. So you can use the battery skill for 50%, use the battery skill for 50%. Both those times you get -2 skill cooldown. This can allow your units with their own battery skills to be ready to rock much faster to basically loop back around. Plus, you're basically getting doubled Buster effectiveness for 3 turns, plus 100% Buster card effectiveness. And I don't actually see anywhere that her on-attack buff doesn't stack, so you could hypothetically be regenerating 20% NP per Buster card. Obviously, I only play NA and she's not actually out yet as of me recording this, so I can't test that. People in the comments can let me know. Now, that alone is pretty good, and your specific combinations can only get better. You'll notice that on her own, Koyan doesn't have, attack up for anybody but herself, and she's only got that, passive self NP damage up. So there's potential for other buffs and buff rotators to come around and, juice you up even further. But the short version is you'll be regenerating skills very fast, you'll generate a lot of battery, and you also do more Buster damage. Now, that said, don't forget that Koyan herself has an offensive NP and plenty of offensive buffs. She can serve as a wave-clearing farmer if needed. Assassins obviously are not known for their super high DPS, but Koyan can just apply all her buffs to herself. And she has NP stalling and charging effects to consider. She has that team-wide NP go up, and also reduces all enemies' charge, definitely. So, there's some fights where you'll actually be firing her NP to do damage. Not all the time, obviously, but it's a thing you can do. The general gist here, though, is remember, you're going to get your maximum output on Buster-related stuff. Now, for CE selection, as primarily a support hitter, you have options. You could just cram your preferred Bond or QP up CE in there, whatever you do the grind, call it a day. You can also do something passive like Ideal Holy King, for example, to give everybody a max HP boost. You could consider K-Scopes or a Prisma Cosmos if you know you're in a long haul, if you're doing a story fight that you know is going to take a while. You can make sure that she can absolutely use that charge down NP when needed, plus, get your own NPs back up. In general, though, I'm personally going to recommend, if you're doing stuff like that, consider CEs which give her overcharge levels, like Demonic Bodhisattva, because that sets up your team-wide NP gain better. One level is I think it jumps to 20. Let me double-check my notes. No, okay, 200% is 15. 2 levels of overcharge is 20%. So yeah, you can get some extra NP juice out of overcharge levels, so consider that up. If you're aiming purely for offense, Buster, NP, crit up, it's all where it's at. That's, where she needs the help. You could always try, a raw damage potential. But Koyan is kind of inherently flexible, as you might expect from such a chameleon, a woman of so many outfits. I don't think she's optimal on her own as a farmer, but is certainly something you can do. And then when you actually start accounting for, hey, what if we get Oberon involved? Wanted coming soon. And what if we get, our other later Buster support? What happens when the other Koyanskaya comes out? There's a lot of weird, wacky, wild combos you can do that just make these numbers even bigger. Alright, so, some other stuff. As you might expect, Koyanskaya is a little bit of an expensive date. Her Ascensions alone are going to cost you 44 stakes, plus some Spinal Fluid and bullets. And then those all-too-precious skills will need even more bullets, Spinal Fluid, stand arrows, plus some eggs at the end. Keep that in mind. It's going to be expensive. Now, Wiki Reporting ain't what it used to be these days, but I can't find any notes of her as a bonus servant in specific events. No, not even Tunguska. It's interesting to note the Koyan of Light doesn't have the non-humanid trait, though she still has the animal characteristics trait. Now, obviously, Koyanskaya of Light's going to debut with Anniversary 6. It's right around the corner. This will be her first banner. It should also come with a trial quest. There will be a second Koyan banner early next year. It's literally just titled Koyanskaya of Light campaign. And she will also be on one of the banners leading up to Lost Bolt 7's release as well. That is when she gets her costume also, as I said earlier, so keep that in mind. And as a limited SSR, naturally she will appear on all future Lucky Bag GSSR campaigns, though I should specify, not this first one. That's not how this works. You gotta wait till the next one. And that's all I got. Hope everybody enjoyed that. Sorry about being a little lean in some areas, but I'll work with what I got. Happy anniversary. I'll see you in a week for Oberon. Then maybe I can take a break. You know, Albert? Can I take a break? Anyway, if you like this video, give it a like. Leave your comments in the comment section down below or hit up our Discord. Links in places. And if you're new here, please sub to get more wanted. You can also ring that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video or when we're streaming, because we do that too. Consider joining our channel memberships as well for access to membership badges and emotes. And real quick before we go, I just remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Adam DeHarp, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Flavis Iceberg, Jeremy Vasquez, JDV 9000, Jester the Fae, Jonathan Sandoval, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Sharvor, Sean Pryor, Some Guy Named Bob, Varian the Crow, and many more. If you like what we do, want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You could have gotten this video early and other goodies. Thanks for your support, everybody.